Hello, it's Maria here. Today we're going to do a yoga class which is all about bravery. It's also all about feet. It might not seem like the two things are connected, but they actually are. Because what we feel in our bodies affects what goes on in our heads as well. So if we can stand in a brave way in our bodies, then it makes us feel brave inside too. So, before we get started, what I'd like you to do is make sure you've got lots of space around you. You don't have to have a yoga mat, but if you do, then that's absolutely brilliant. But make sure you've also got a grown-up who's with you, who can make sure that whatever you do, you're safe. Okay, so I'm going to start back over here. I'm going to be on my yoga mat. I've also got my screen here, so what I hope will happen is that you'll send me some comments, and if you want me to say hello to you, then I should be able to read it on my screen and then I can talk to you. I've just seen how dark I am. I'm just going to put a bit more light on. Oh, that's a bit better. Okay, so before we get started, I'd like us just to do a bit of boinging up and down, just to shake off some of the crazy. Sometimes I have a bit of crazy going on when I've woken up in the morning. And then put your feet on the floor, and we're going to do a bit of boinging up and down, but without lifting our feet off the floor. So see if you can keep the whole of your foot on the floor while you're boinging up and down. And then let's boing up and down and leave the floor again. And then let's keep our feet on the floor and boing up and down. Okay, then what I'd like you to do is stand with your feet together and then turn your toes out so your feet look like a pizza slice, and then turn your heels out. And we did this on Tuesday. We talked about our feet being parallel with each other. So if you don't know what parallel means, it's a bit like train tracks that no matter how far they go, they'll never meet. So our feet are kind of as if they're on train tracks. And then what we're going to do is roll onto the outer edges of our feet, roll all the way up onto our toes, and then roll back down again. And we're going to do this a couple of times. Now, it might make you feel a bit wobbly, so if you're finding it hard to balance, you can put your hand on the wall, or on a chair, or on a grown-up, or on a brother or sister, as long as you don't annoy them. So we'll roll up onto our toes, and we'll roll back down again. I'm going to tell you a couple of words, and if you don't remember them, it doesn't matter, because I lived most of my life without knowing them. But I learned that animals like cats and dogs go around on their tiptoes all the time, on their front and their back feet, and they are called digitigrade. So when we go on our tiptoes, we are digitigrade, but people, we have our heels on the ground, and that's called plantigrade. So we can go digitigrade, plantigrade, digitigrade, plantigrade. And if you instantly forget those words, that's okay. Woo! And we often run on the balls of our feet, so if you are sort of all bouncy on the balls of your feet, it kind of makes you feel like you want to run away from something. So when we're sort of on the balls of our feet, we sort of feel a bit jiggly and like, I don't really want to stay here for very long. But if you put your heels on the ground, just see if it makes you feel a bit still. So when your heels are on the ground, you're sort of making yourself feel, it's okay to be here, it's safe, I don't need to run away from anything. And I don't need to run to anything. It's okay to be right here. So if you can try and keep your heels on the ground for some of the poses that we're going to do, then that's one way that we can make ourselves feel brave using our feet, is by keeping our heels on the ground. I'm going to stop and have a look at some of your comments in a minute and say hello to some people, because I can see they're coming in. So when we're in this position, this is mountain pose. And mountain pose is just standing really tall and strong, which is exactly what mountains are. They're strong, they're not bouncing around, they don't run anywhere, and they feel solid. So let's just make sure we've got our heels on the ground. You can have a little bend in your knees and imagine your head's floating up to the ceiling. I'm going to talk about dinosaurs now. If you put your hands on your hips and imagine you've got a massive dinosaur tail, and then lift your massive dinosaur tail up, and then lower your dinosaur tail down, and then lift it all the way up again, and lower it down. And then imagine your big dinosaur tail is just resting on the floor. And then we imagine our heads are floating upwards. Bring your shoulders up to your ears, take a big breath in, and then let them drop away from your shoulders. So you should feel that you're standing like a strong mountain and your back is nice and long. And it feels good to stand like this, especially when we've been bouncing around a lot. So we're going to do our first warrior pose. We did all 3 of these on Tuesday. We're going to do them again. So I'm going to stand this way and we're going to do warrior 1. And we stand with our feet as if they're on train tracks, and you choose which leg you want to step forwards with. So we take a big step forwards and we're trying to keep our back heel down. I've got funny ankles, so sometimes my back heel comes up a bit. And when it does that, I get a cushion. Sorry, that's a big loud bang. I get a cushion and put my heel on it because I want to keep that back heel down because it tells my brain that I'm safe and I'm strong. Then bend your front leg and float your arms up in the air. Bring your shoulders up to your ears and let them drop down. And this is our first warrior pose. So you should feel strong. You're not running away anyway. You're feeling brave and firm. And the reason you're not running away is because you know you're so strong that nothing's going to hurt you. And then we'll lower our arms and step our feet back together again. And we can just have a little jiggle and see how that feels inside. Then let's have a go on the other side. So remember which leg you did first, and we'll do the other one now. So step forwards with the other leg. Bend the front knee, raise the arms up in the air. Shoulders up to the ears, let the shoulders drop down. And you can also think about your dinosaur tail going down. We don't want dinosaur tails lifting up because we feel a bit less strong that way. So if your dinosaur tail goes down, arms up in the air, and we're feeling brave and strong. So if you want to, you can have a quick go on each side again. I want to have a look at what, if anybody's saying anything. Okay, so we've got Lucy and Zoe, and we've got Amelia and Lara. I haven't seen Lara for a while. It's lovely to hear from you, Lara. I hope you're doing all right. Okay, so that's our first warrior pose. Another nice thing about warrior poses, because they make us feel good inside, we can tell ourselves nice things. Now, I don't know about you, but sometimes I get in a bit of a mood where I'm thinking I'm always messing things up. I'm going to make an idiot of myself. I can't get anything right. And I don't know if you sometimes feel that about yourself. Sometimes the older you get, the more you say it. And it's a horrible thing. You wouldn't say that to your friend, would you? You wouldn't say, you never get anything right. So it's nice to say kind things. So the sort of things we're going to say to ourselves are things like, I am brave, I am strong, I can do this, I am beautiful. We're going to say things like that to ourselves while we're doing our warrior poses. So let's go for it. So we've got our feet nicely on the ground and we're going to step forwards, and you can say whichever one you like. I'm going to say, I am brave. And then lower my arms, step back again, and then let's have it on the other side. Step forwards. I am brave. So I hope that helps you. I think it makes me feel quite brave when I'm doing that as well. So that was warrior 1. We're going to do warrior 2 now, and I quite like jumping my feet apart. If you're not feeling jumpy, you can just shuffle them or you can step them apart. So we've got our feet wide. Now I'm going to turn my, doesn't matter which foot you start with, but your first foot, I'm going to turn it outwards and turn my other foot inwards, and then bend this knee, raise my arms, and we're just going to do a little bit of surfing, a bit like we did on Tuesday. So when you go one way, you feel your weight's more on one foot. When you go the other, you feel it's more on the other. And we're trying to find a point where both your feet feel equal. And then we'll bring our shoulders up to our ears, send them away from our ears. I'll tell you why we're doing this, because when we're scared, we do this. So when we're brave, our shoulders are away from our ears, so we're making our bodies feel brave. And then we're going to look down the middle of our fingers. Let's say another kind thing to ourselves. I am strong. Hope you're feeling strong. I always feel strong when I'm doing this. And then lower your arms, straighten your leg. And then let's either jump our feet together or you can shuffle them in. Let's have a go on the other side. Boing. So this foot, your second foot, you're going to turn the toes out, turn the other toes in, and bend the knee. Let's have a little surf, forwards and backwards. Quite nice surfing. And then we'll have our weight on both feet, shoulders away from your ears, nice and brave. Look down your middle finger. I am strong. It's a shame I can't hear you. I love it when I'm in a room full of people who are all saying, I am strong. So I hope you're all saying it with courage and conviction. And we'll lower our arms, straighten the legs, and then you can shuffle or jump your feet back together. So I've got a hello from Alice. Hello, Alice. And Monty and Hetty are going to watch later. Okay. Right, so that's 2 warrior poses we've done. Now, the next one is a balance, and we were doing some balances on Tuesday, and every time I do balances, I like to start with my favourite one, which is tree pose. So if you're feeling a bit wobbly, you can have a wall next to you, or you can just rest your hands on a chair. So we'll start with our feet, nice and parallel, and we'll look at something that's not going to move, and we're going to do tree pose. So if you start with your first foot, whichever one you choose, and then your other foot, you either have your toes on the floor, if you're feeling a bit wobbly, or you can put your foot against your leg, or above your knee, if it stays there. And if you wobble, it's okay to put that other foot down. So we look at something that won't move, put your foot there. I'm having a wobbly morning. And then we're nice and tall, so we're growing upwards towards the sky. We've got our foot on the ground. Your hands can be at your heart centre, or above your head, or out like branches. If you can hold it for a couple of breaths, that's wonderful. And it might help to still think of your dinosaur tail going towards the floor. And if it all feels good, you can flutter your fingers as if they're leaves. So we will have leaves on the trees soon. They could be like twigs, couldn't they? Wintry twigs. Then we'll lower our hands, lower that foot, bring the weight back into both feet again. I like to give my toes a little wriggle in between as well. Then we're going to make your second foot heavy, and then put your foot where you choose, your non-standing foot, nice and tall, so you've got lovely tall bark growing up towards the sky. Choose how you'd like to have your hands. Let's have some fluttery, wintry twigs again. See if we can hold it there for a couple of breaths. And all that I was saying before about your feet, about your heel being down on the floor, that makes you feel more steady as well, so you can balance on one leg. Then we'll lower our hands and lower our foot. Oh, give your toes a little wriggle. So that's all to help warm us up so that we can do our warrior 3 balance. So for warrior 3, we start off in warrior 1. We're just going to have a little go, and don't worry too much about what it looks like. I'm going to show you how not to do it as well. So this is how not to do it. Please don't copy this. So what a lot of people do, they start off in warrior 1, they reach forwards, and then they go wee. Now my heels come off the floor when I do that. We don't want the heel to come off the floor. You've got big strong foot here. So we'll take a step forwards, arms in the air, and just start to tip. And if you think you're going to go too far, you can stop there, or you can go a bit further forwards, and maybe a little bit more, but don't go on your tiptoe. So if you feel really wobbly, you can put your hands on a wall and put a foot back, or you can put them on a chair. So we're trying to keep that foot on the ground so that we don't end up with the hands on the floor. So let's do a kind phrase for ourselves while we're doing our warrior 3. When I did a course with some children recently, we came up with I am bright and beautiful when we're doing warrior 3. So now every time I do warrior 3, that's the one I think of, because I always learn a lot from children when I'm teaching them. See, I'm meant to be the teacher, but I learn a lot from you. So we'll start off, here's our warrior 1. We're going to reach forwards with our fingers and say, I am bright and beautiful. And then bend the knee, step back, woo, and have a wobble or not. Let's have a go on the other side then. I've got a comment from Amelia has got odd socks on. So if that helps you, so you can remember which foot you've done, then that's actually quite a useful tip. We've got a hello from Ella, Olivia and Micah in Leighton Buzzard. Hello guys, hope you're enjoying it. Right, so let's have a step forwards with the other foot, arms in the air, bend the front knee, stretch forwards with your fingers and back with your foot, and let's say, I am bright and beautiful. And if you're feeling wobbly, you can put your hand on a wall. And then we'll bend that standing leg, step back again. We're going to do the second side again, because we did it a couple of times on the first side. As you probably notice, everything we do in yoga, we do twice. We have to do one side, then the other. Okay, let's step forwards with that second foot. So your second coloured sock, arms in the air, and stretch forwards, keeping that foot. I'm having a little wobble on the floor. I am bright and beautiful. And then back we go again, and 2 feet back together. Oh, let's just have a little jiggle and give our toes a wriggle. We've done a lot of standing up. So your legs should be feeling really strong. Okay, the next pose we're going to do is not a warrior pose. It's got two different names. One is chair pose, because it looks as if you're sitting down in mid-air. And the other is powerful and mighty, because you do actually feel quite powerful and mighty doing it. Now again, because of my funny ankles, I like to have a cushion under my heels, because otherwise, if I try to sit down, I either get that far, or I end up having to lift my heels off the floor. So I'm going to put my heels on a cushion, because we want to keep the whole of the foot down to make us feel strong. So we're going to have our 2 feet and have them as if they're on train tracks. Think of your dinosaur tail going down, put your hands on your hips and then see if you can sit. So I know my dinosaur tail will have lifted up a bit here, but what I'm not doing is really arching my back, otherwise it hurts here. So we're going to sit down, see if we can keep sitting, and if you're feeling really powerful, you can lift your arms up. But if that's a bit much, you keep your hands on your hips and then push into your feet and come up. And you should feel it in your legs. So this is our powerful and mighty pose. I think we could have another kind thing to say to ourselves. We've done I'm strong, we've done with brave, we've done with bright and beautiful. I think a good one is I am good enough, because sometimes we sort of think, oh, I'm not going to be good enough at this and everyone will laugh at me. But let's tell ourselves, I'm good enough, I can do this. And I can do this is another one actually. I like both of those. I think we'll do both of them. Okay, so we'll have our hands on our hips. We're going to send our knees forwards and lift our arms up and say, I can do this. Or I am good enough. And then push into your feet and come up. And you don't have to hold it that long. If you want to, you can come out of it whenever you want. So that's our powerful and mighty pose. Oh, now I think after all that hard work, we deserve to have a little bit of a rest. So what we're going to do is have a lie down on the floor, but keep your knees bent for now. And your arms down by your side. And we're going to push into our feet and lift our hips off the floor and then roll that down again. So push into your feet, roll all the way up and back down again. Now if you're feeling like you've still got really lovely strong legs and you want a bit of an extra challenge, you can lift one leg in the air, but keep that other leg really, really strong and then swap over and roll back down and then we'll roll up, lift up and the other leg in the air, 3 and then roll back down again and then hug your knees in. Let's have a little roll around on the floor. And if we have a roll from side to side, and let's see if we can start rolling forwards and backwards. All the way forwards, all the way backwards until we come all the way up to sitting. Oh, right. Now, we always finish with a breathing practice and then we have a bit of relaxation afterwards. So to do our breathing practice, it's good to have a nice long back so we've got space to breathe, because if we're all hunched up, we breathe up here. And that is another thing that makes us feel that we're not very relaxed and we're not very brave, is if we're breathing all the way up here. So if your shoulders are away from your ears, it helps you feel brave. If your back is nice and long, it also makes you feel brave. And if you breathe all the way into your tummy and your lower ribs, so these bony bits down here are your ribs, that's another thing that makes you feel brave as well. So if you can sit in a way that's making you feel strong, that you can breathe well, then I'm going to come towards the camera so that I can tell you what we're going to do for our breathing today. So I'd like you to bring your hands together, and when you breathe in, take your hands away from each other but keep your fingertips together, and then when you breathe out, you bring them back again. And that's all we're going to do. Now sometimes when we're doing this in a class, I see people doing this. But I'd like you to see if you can really focus. So you're breathing in, opening your hands out, and breathing out to bring them back together again. And we'll just do this twice more. And it's your slow breathing. So don't try and match me, because I'll breathe at a different rate to you. And if it helps, you can shut your eyes so that you're really watching your own breathing and not trying to copy anybody else or think, well, I've got to breathe at their speed, otherwise I'm doing it wrong. Because it's actually the right way to do it is what your body is telling you. And then I'd like you to get comfy on the floor. So you can use any cushions or blankets that you want so that you can lie down and feel really comfy. And we're trying to lie in a way that's symmetrical as much as we can. So we kind of look like a gingerbread person, but if your back hurts, you can bend your knees. If you're sort of lying in a twisty way, then you're not really letting your muscles relax because some will be tight and some will be stretched. So if you can lie like this, do try to. Or if you normally twist one way, just try twisting the other and it balances everything out. So you get yourself lying comfortably. And then I'm going to talk you through a little relaxation. And we're going to do the same thing that we did on Tuesday, where we squeeze muscles and then release them again. Because your muscles sometimes get tight. So if you tighten them even more and then let go, they should feel lovely and relaxed and floaty afterwards. We're going to start with our feet. So if you can screw your toes up as tight as you're able to. If you get cramps in your feet, then don't do them too tight. And then relax your feet. And now tense all the muscles up in your legs. So squeeze all those muscles, push your knees into the floor and then relax them again. And now press your lower back into the floor. So there's a natural curve in your lower back and I want you to push it into the floor and you should feel your tummy muscles tightening up. And then relax. And then your shoulders and your chest, tighten them all up. It's almost as if you're so cold you're shivering. And then relax. And now if you go to your hands and make fists with your hands, squeeze your fingers and then let them open out and relax. And squeeze your fingers again, bring your hands to your shoulders and tighten up as much as you can. And then relax. Relax your arms down by your side. Bring your shoulders up to your ears, high as you can get them. So you're still lying down when you're doing all this. And then let them drop to the floor. Now we're going to grit our teeth. So your jaw is really tight. And then relax. Raise your eyebrows as high as you can. And relax. And then screw your face up as tight as you can. And then relax. I'd like you to now put your hands on your tummy. And hopefully when you breathe in, you feel that your tummy goes up. You don't have to force it or make it go up and down quickly. Just feel that when you breathe in, your tummy goes up a little bit. And when you breathe out, it drops back down again. And every time you breathe out, imagine yourself feeling a little bit heavier. And something that some of the children who do my class like to do is imagine that they're lying on chocolate and the chocolate is slightly melted so that when you breathe out, you sink slightly into the chocolate. And when you breathe in, you can smell this amazing warm chocolatey smell. Now, there are people out there who don't like chocolate and that's okay. I'm not one of those people, but I do understand there are people who don't like chocolate. So if you prefer, you can imagine you're lying on warm golden sand. So when you breathe out, you sink just a tiny bit into the sand. When you breathe in, maybe you can smell the seaside, you can smell salt, you can smell fresh air. So you decide which one works for you. And then give your fingers and toes a little wriggle. Have a stretch out. You can hug your knees in and have a little roll around again. And then take your time to come up to sitting. So when you're sitting, I'd like you to start with your hands at your heart centre. And we're going to do 3 big breaths. And it's your breathing rate. Don't try and do it at the same time as me. So when you breathe in, reach your arms all the way up to the ceiling, and when you breathe out, bring them down to your heart center. So it's lovely slow breaths. And then we finish all our classes by saying namaste to each other. And the way I explain it, it does have different meanings, is that we're all connected to each other. We've all got a little bit of light inside us. And when we say namaste, we're kind of saying thank you for sharing your yoga practice. So let's say that to each other. Thank you very much, everyone. Namaste. I'll be back again on Tuesday. Have a lovely weekend. Bye-bye.